go through this process.
Brave woman, raising brave children. Proudly an immigrant mom, proud to the immigrant mom. Brave woman, raising brave children. Proudly an immigrant mom, proud to the immigrant mom. Brave woman.
Hello, guys. Hello. Welcome to the Immigrant Mom Show. It's been a long time coming. Wow, it's been the last time we had our show was November, I think December 2021. So happy new year. I am so excited to be back on today. I'm so excited about the guests we have. You know the drill. If you have forgotten, I'm going to remind you we normally give it a couple of minutes for people to join. We give it a couple of minutes so we can share with our friends to come and be a part of this wonderful storytelling time. I love storytelling. You know why? Because we get a chance to hear another person's experience. We get a chance to learn from that person's experience. We get a chance to ask them questions that we could probably never have been able to. And because of the show and because they're a guest on the show, you can have some of your questions answered. So without further ado, let's give it, I think, 2 minutes. Let's give it 2 minutes so people can join us and we can get started. And you know the drill. Please let me know where you're watching from. I like to say hi to you. It's been a moment, I know. I'd just love to acknowledge those who are joining us. So say hi in the comment section. And you can watch either on Facebook or YouTube. For those who are not on Facebook, we're live on YouTube as well. All right, guys, let's just hang on as people join us. King of glory, I bless you. With my life, I bless you.
Lord, your glory forever and ever. If my only hope is your great name, then it's certain that there'll be no shame. Lord, forever and ever, you remain God. You ever.
Hi, Van.
You ever want it all for me. Victory, Akutara open doors. Nameyo, Antio, Akutara open doors. Singing my song of praise. Akutara open doors. Nameyo, Antio, Akutara open doors. Receive my praise today.
Guys, you know that I could stay on here. Hi, Auntie May. Hi, Val. Thank you guys so much for joining. I'm so excited. I'm so thankful to be here. Please go ahead and share. People are trickling into the room. Thank you guys so much. Please share so many more people can join us. Let's be a part of the wonderful conversation. If this is your first time on this platform, my name is Ixtel Mbaacha Dobgima. I need to say that. I need to remember. In fact, I should have changed the name that's on there. My name is Ixtel Mbaacha Dobgima, and I am the founder of the Immigrant Mom Organization. The Immigrant Mom Organization is an organization supporting women who are raising children in a country they did not grow up in. This organization is saying, or is there to help these women who are raising children in oblivion. They are brave women because motherhood by itself or parenting by itself is tough, and it's even tougher when you have to do it in a country that you did not grow up in. Our mission is to equip, to empower, to educate these women so that they can do well for themselves and for their children. It is so important in this day and age because ignorance is no longer an excuse. Nobody wants to look back at the end of the road and say, I wish I knew. Well, in order for you to change that wish, you have to, plug at knowledge now. You have to put yourself in circles where discussions about yours or your life and your children are made or talked about, so you know well enough for yourself and for your children. And this are spaces like this. The Immigrant Mom Show is part of the Immigrant Mom organization. It's a platform where we invite mothers, women to share stories on things that pertain to the immigrant mom experience. And today, we have a guest. Before we have our guest on, a few announcements. If you would love to be a part of our community, the immigrant mom community, it is called Mothering in a Foreign Land. It's on Facebook. And as of today, we have about 640 women. We are still growing. It's a safe place for you to ask questions about anything. Do you have questions about, the educational system? Are you looking for a job? Are you looking for a nanny? You want to ask questions about your marriage? It's a safe place. And you can even ask questions anonymously. There is the option where you can post your question and remain anonymous, where other members of the group can share with you their opinion. I have asked questions about potty training. I have asked questions about the educational system. I have asked questions about, just about anything. And these moms are willing to share their lives with me and with others that are on the group. So look for the group on Facebook. It's called Mothering in a Foreign Land, and join us. For those who are just arriving in the country that they're going to be resident in, it's a great place to find other women in your area so you can get the support that you need. We have programs across the year. We were supposed to have a fusion Afro dance class last weekend, but that didn't happen because very few people registered. Now we are allowing more time so people can register and we can get together and have fun. Like I said, this is a very, very important time for us in the countries that we're in, where our voices need to be heard. I reached out to an organization telling them, hey, what about, the cause for immigrant mothers? And someone said to me, people are really pathetic or empathetic towards children, but not so much towards mothers. And that made me think because, there is the assumption that mothers are superheroes or have superpower, which is true, but realistically, we need that support. Well, no one's coming to save the immigrant mom. That's in a nutshell what I learned, meaning the immigrant mom is going to have to support the immigrant mom. If you are a mom that has a tip, who has knowledge about a job, about scholarships, about things that she did that worked out for her, please do not hoard information. Share information with someone whose life would be better because you did. That's the entire purpose of our organization. That because you have walked a mile in the shoe and you know how difficult it is to raise teenagers in a country other than the one you were born and raised in, you will be able to offer that support to another mother who has teenagers. If you were able to censor your children's phone so that they don't have access to just about anything on this wild web, you can come on and tell another mom, this is what you need to do to make sure your children are not exposed to information too early than they can handle. We need to be free with information, and that's why we have a safe space so we can talk about all these things. Hi, Sola. Thank you for joining. Hi, Imabong. Thank you so much for joining. Guys, we have just 60 minutes on here, and I want us to get started because we have a phenomenal woman who is our guest. She is an immigrant mom. She is originally from Nigeria. She is a mother. She is a wife. She is an attorney, and she's running for public office. I have just told you surface level about Augusta because I'm going to invite her to come on and tell us a little bit about herself. Hi, Augusta. Thank you so much for joining. How are you?
I am excellent. It is so wonderful to be with you today.
Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate it. I know how busy you are. I know, I have an idea of what it means to run a campaign and everything that's involved. But, I'm humbled that you would take this time to share your story with the immigrant mom. And, I'm really grateful. I gave a very brief introduction. If you would love from your heart without the formality, knowing that you are among women that get you and you get them, tell us a little bit about you in your own words, your introduction.
Sure. Thank you so much. And thank you for this platform. Hi, everyone. My name is Augusta Massey. I'm currently running for judge, Las Vegas Justice Court, Department 6. I am originally from Nigeria. I left Nigeria. A lot of you, if you grew up in any part of Africa, you know how things work there. My dad was killed, and so saw that and was like, okay, you know what? We need to exit. And so we left and came to the United States, like all of you, just looking for greener pastures and a way to start afresh and get a new life and experience something different, leaving trauma behind. Unfortunately, a couple of months after we came to the United States, my brother was killed by a drunk driver. He was working home from school, 12 years old, from middle school, and this lady had been drinking in the afternoon, 2 o'clock. She hit him 8, 9 feet in the air. His best friend died on the spot. He died in the hospital a couple of days later. And you can just imagine the devastation. You leave, whatever conditions you have in Africa, you come to the United States. All of us, when you're thinking about coming, America is this wonderful land of opportunity. It's a great place. Things work, government works. And so when you've been told that and you come and experience something so tragic, it kind of shatters that. And so for me, it introduced me to the legal system because again, we say things work. So there was a lawsuit. There was, she was prosecuted, criminal prosecution. She went to jail. We were also going through immigration, like you. And then now we're going through immigration, and one person is, deceased, and having to go through that. And then we decided, someone needs to be accountable. Accountability is huge for me. And so we sued the government. There was no speed bumps. There were no sidewalks. There was nothing that would have protected my brother, maybe slowed her down just a little bit, that she wasn't flying off the street and send my brother flying, in the
And when
air.
you're talking about she, just to give people context, the lady who was driving, who
Yes,
was behind the wheel when that accident
exactly.
happened.
Exactly. And um, so we won. We won that case. There are now speed bumps there, sidewalks there, memorial there to my brother and his friend. And it set me on a different path, right? In Africa, we talk about respectable professions. So you have to be a doctor, an engineer, stuff like that. So I was in one of those categories. I was in engineering, and I was going through school. I was trying to do a double major at the time, taking every credit that you could possibly take just to graduate. And finished that up, and I went back to law school. I just knew, like, I need to be a lawyer. I need to understand this new country. I saw how laws affected everything, from the fact that you had to go to school as a kid because there's a law for that. The way you drive with the stoplights, there's a law for that. If you don't obey it, there are criminal penalties for that. Where you work, there's a law for that. And you just have to see how laws are so important in the United States. And like I said, it's almost accountability too, to hold people accountable. And if you don't obey the law, there are consequences. And so I didn't want another family to go through what we did. I wanted to be able to explain it to other family members and people that I knew, how the system works. And so it really changed my perspective on life. And I went ahead, went to law school. I became an attorney. I won a couple of awards. So I was like, okay, yes, I can do this. Because originally I was like, people out of love want to discourage you,
Yeah.
right? It was engineering is a little bit more cut and dried, it's straightforward. Law, as much as we you say justice is blind, justice still sees, right? Justice sees. I'm a black woman. I'm an
Right.
immigrant. You talk funny. I call it my sexy accent. And you're from a different country, and a lot of the people in law school are like white and tall and men, and here you are. I'm only 5 feet, all of 5 feet, and you're petite and you're small, and so you don't check a lot of the boxes. And so, out of love, a lot of the discussion at that point was don't go to law school, don't do it. But I feel like when you have God backing you up, if it's okay, I want to talk about God because that
Please
is
do. This is the right
uh,
space.
feel called, and you know that you're hearing from God and it's something that you want to do. You feel that He puts you on that assignment. Trust Him. If nobody else believes you, nobody else supports you, trust Him. And He backed me up fully. Um, Miracles upon miracles, being able to get the degrees, being able to even to win. So first year of law school, they have this competition, and it's called the moot court competition. It's first year law students, people who we're first time in law school. You don't really know a lot about law, and all of you have to compete. It's not even like it's optional. No, it's mandatory. Everybody gets to compete. And it's almost like the Super Bowls, right? There's this team, and you can advance, and it actually has the brackets like Super Bowl,
Right.
and all the way to the end. And so there were 143 of us competing. Never in the history has two women. Um, I was an immigrant. The other lady, so rest in peace. It's a black Indian lady, and we won. People didn't think we were going to win. There are a lot of things people haven't thought that I was going to be able to do, and that is how I know it's God. It is not me, because when
It's
the
amazing.
people look at you and they judge you or prejudge you,
Yeah.
it's people. A lot of people underestimate me, and I love it because I don't underestimate my God. And
Right.
so we went through the process. I didn't come from a family of lawyers and blah, blah, blah. If you have lawyers in their family, judges in their family, and we won. And for me, I felt like that was God saying you're on the right path. And this is where you need to be, and you can do it. Accent or no accent, whether you
Mhm.
look the part or you don't. At that point, I had no money. I remember my dean had to give me dresses, hand me down dresses. I remember the suit that I wore for this competition on the final day. I got it from Goodwill. I had like pants that were from one store, the jacket was from another store, and it didn't kind of match. And I was busting out, and then I had my hair in braids because it was what I could afford to do. I didn't have no weave and stuff. And people just never thought like you have your hair like this, you look like this, and you look a certain way, and to
You
continue
know,
to
when I
excel.
hear you say all of this, I hear you saying there are no excuses
Mhm.
that are strong enough to keep you from the destiny that God has put you on.
Right.
A lot of times, as immigrants, we have well convinced excuses we tell ourselves. It's not even people that are telling us that we cannot do these things. We have told ourselves and convinced ourselves that we are not worthy to be a
Mhm.
part of it. Before I go into those excuses, because there are a lot of people who are listening who are saying, Augusta, I love your courage. Maybe if you knew my particular situation, you know why I feel this timid about going in a certain route. But let's back up to talk about the incident with your brother.
Mhm.
Families face tragedy even here in the US. They leave Africa, they leave Asia, they leave South America to greener pastures, but then they encounter things that are not that green. In the immigrant style and way of doing things, want to sweep it under the rug and just hide. Maybe I don't have papers and so I don't want to call the police. Maybe I don't want to be in the limelight about this issue. How was your family able to muster the courage to go after the law to get justice done for your brother? And so you can tell us that story in a light so that other people who need to know that you're an immigrant does not mean that you're void of your rights.
Okay. And that's a good question. And a lot of it, I would say, was my mother. My mother showed us what it meant to live a courageous life. This show is about brave women raising brave children. I was raised by a brave woman, which is why I can take the steps and step out and do some of the things I do today, because I saw her lead our family through some of the worst times. I can't even imagine, as a wife now, as a mother, I can't imagine the things that she was going through. But I think, if I'm able to speak for her, I would say it gets to a certain point, you tell yourself, as a human being, I am worthy. I have rights, I have sovereign rights. And as a child of the monarch of the universe, you have rights everywhere. Like, everywhere your feet tread, you have authority. And I feel like for her, she had experienced some of the most horrific things anyone could have experienced. That I think it gets to a point you say, whatever wants to happen can happen. The worst that could happen has already happened to me. And so you stop thinking about yourself and start thinking about other people. My mom is very community minded. And it's like, if I'm going through this problem and this pain and this grief, do I want another mother to go through the same thing that I'm going through? And so, like, you starting the show, Excel, and saying, these are the things I was going through. How can I make it easier for other people? I think that is very much the immigrant experience. If we allow ourselves, we do always step forward and want to solve problems. And so it was the same thing that guided you to do this, that guided her to say, you know what, another mother shouldn't have to lose a child to, it might not have been a drunk driver, maybe just someone speeding. There are certain things that should be on school zones. Speed bumps should be on school zones. Why wasn't it there? It didn't
Right.
take having something so tragic to happen to think about all the children. And so I feel like that is what allowed her to step up, and in essence raised us to be able to step up.
Right. Oh, that's really powerful. As immigrants, sometimes our children are in schools and they get bullied in schools. Do you know that you can come together with mothers from the same community and say, I want the school to have an anti bullying policy. And I
Yeah.
want to see that in this school, they have procedures to make sure that there is a reporting system and an escalation system if a child is getting bullied. Gone
Mhm.
are the days when we as immigrant moms would take anything served to us and just
Yes.
shove it down our throats because we are immigrants. If there's anything you would take out of this show today, take this. We have a voice, and our voice is going to be heard, if not for ourselves, for the children that we are raising. And this is a beautiful testimony as we see Augusta here today. She is a product of a brave mom, a mom who said, something happened to my child. I'm going to raise my voice. And here she is today raising her voice, having gone through law school. I want to ask you about your degrees because
Mhm.
you have two degrees, engineering degrees,
Yes.
one English,
Yes.
law school,
Yes.
and an MBA.
Yes.
Let's talk about that. Was that an intentional chase for knowledge, or was that I did not have the right orientation and so I veered off like a lot of people do?
Mhm.
What was that like, if you
I
don't mind
think
sharing?
no, I don't mind. It was very, it was intentional and unintentional, and I'll explain. I wanted to study engineering. When I came to the United States, I'll tell you what my mindset was at that time. It was, um, so I was at a community college, and if you full time was considered 12 credits. Anything above full time, you didn't have to pay extra. So once you took 12 credits, you paid up to 12 credits. Anything above that was pretty much considered free, right? They hadn't met us Nigerians at that time. I don't know if they hadn't met us. So the idea was, if I could double that, instead of just taking 12 credits, if I could take 24 credits, I could do a 2-for-1, buy one, get one free. I could knock out, 2 semesters worth of stuff in one semester. Now, was it easy? No. I was taking classes in the morning. I could have a class at 7:30 and have a class up until 10 o'clock at night. I lived at school practically. In between, I would work on the school campus, and it was just something that I was determined to make work because I didn't have any money. And so if I was paying out of this out of pocket international fees for that first year, I was going to milk it. And I needed to do it in such a way that I also kept my grades really high, because the idea was to get a scholarship. And so if you got a scholarship, then it paid for the rest, and then I could finish up. And then once you finished up, the way they had it back then is if you graduated from the community college, they would pay your way for 2 years at a 4 year institution, a college. So that was how come I was able to make my way through school. So I doubled down, I got good grades, then I got the scholarship, then I graduated. Then when my brother died and I decided I needed to go back to school, I chose English. And again, African parents, engineering, law, this English is not, on that radar. But for me, I wanted to silence the naysayers. I wanted any question about my qualification of whether I could speak English, whether I could do this, whether I was qualified. I wanted to be able to hold up that degree and say, I got summa cum laude from an accredited university that certifies I am proficient in the English language, especially for the kind of job I was trying to do. And then after that, I went to law school because again, the ball had the purpose. I was on a purpose path now at this point, and I knew it was law school, and so I went to that. Um, the MBA came. I took it during the pandemic. It was something that was an inspiration. I'd always wanted to get it done, but life happens. You have kids, your husband, da da da. And during the pandemic, there's a lot going on, but school has always been like a center point for me, and so the MBA was something I'd wanted to do because I do a lot of business litigation. I deal with a lot of businesses, a lot of small business owners. I run my own small business as a law firm owner. Knowledge is never wasted. And so I wanted to understand more from my knowledge, how businesses, at least from an American point of view, an institutional point of view, a knowledge based point of view, what is it that I don't know? Because there's a lot of stuff that we don't know. As an
Right.
entrepreneur, you pick up stuff, right? But then there were other things that I didn't understand, or other ways I could help my clients if I knew how to run a business based on a master's in business administration. And so I went back and I got that degree because that was something I always wanted to do, and there was a utility value to it. And am I done? I think so. I don't think I want anymore. I think I'm good
Well,
now.
I think you're such a driven person, and I don't say it just because I'm trying to rub butter all over you. You are driven, and it's shown in how meticulous you have been and said, for me to be this good, I need to get this, and I need to get this, and I need to get this. And that's something that I am learning and taking out of this show today, just talking to you, that if you want something, you have to first know what you want. If you know what
Yes.
you want, then you can go after what you want by getting the knowledge that is requisite. Nobody's going to hand anything to you because you deserve it. You are going to be deserving by the value that's on you. And I'm hoping somebody's taking these nuggets of wisdom that's flying out through this show today. I'm going to talk about your experience as a mom and as a wife, but let's talk about this public office you're running for, because in by itself, it is almost like, whoa, why? Who does she think she is? Like, what is this superpower? What made you believe that this is something you could do? Take us through the journey of your thought process of, oh, there is an opportunity, I can get it. Just talk us through that.
Okay. So I have to say, honestly, I did not think I would run for office. Because who does that and says, "Hey, I want to run for office"? Oh, what are you gonna do? Pinky and the brain. We're gonna take over the world and run for office. It wasn't something that I really found myself doing, but I was raised by a dad and a mom who were very much into community. Like I said, my mom is very much into community. She takes care of people. So many people call her mother. Um, Sometimes you're like, how many kids do you really have? Because all these people, your mother. Um, and then, when my brother died, community wrapped themselves around us. We had people from the church come bring us food and stuff. I tasted lasagna and stuff like this that I never tasted before. Funny foods, but just people showing love towards us. And so community is a huge part of who I am at my core. And so in this race, I have other people who are, maybe are public defenders and stuff like that. They're paid to do that work. I have not been paid to do the work that I do, offering pro bono free services. That is just even the ones that I'm doing with organizations, not to talk about the work that we do in our communities. And you know how it goes. Hey, Excel, my sister, I need something, my sister, da da da. And we don't log those hours and say these are the pro bono hours we do in our community. That's something we do to help. And so I'm in a lot of spaces, not bragging. People can Google me. I'm in a lot of spaces, and a lot of things. And so it just kept coming up like, you would be a great public servant. And I tell people I'm not a politician, I'm a public servant. And that is how I got here, because women on the average have to ask 7 times to run. And I know it's probably double that number because I didn't want to do it. And at some point, I listened to friends and I went through some training. Anything I want to do, I always go through training because I don't ever assume to know what I don't know. All of us have blind spots, never run before. I went to a program called Emerge. They help women run and win, because I think being a woman in a space like this is really unique. So I went to that program and I was like, oh, heck no, I am definitely now not going to run. There's all this stuff going on. And then in 2020, I had a bunch of friends who ran to be judges and they all won. And, they were like, come run. And I was like, nah, I don't want to do that. And then, last year, because usually for you to run, you need to have been preparing for like 18 months or so. I kept saying no until January this year when, with a conversation with a friend, and she was like, if not now, when? If not you, who? You have the qualifications, you have the right, just like anybody else. And why do you keep saying no? And so when she put it like that, I was like, really, there's never going to be a right time. You heard the things I do. I'm always busy. I will forever be busy. I think I've come to accept it. My husband has given up on me. It's never going to be, there's never not going to be something going on. Next year, I already have big plans to learn how to be a flamenco dancer and buff up my Spanish. I have these dreams. I put it out in the universe, way in advance. And so he's like, you've planned 10 years. You already have all these things. So it's never going to stop. And so when you start thinking about that and thinking about where we are, the pandemic, what happened, people who died, I had a lot of friends who did. You start thinking about, your children and Judge Floyd and the things that are happening. And you see the sentencing and, how people are treated in the courtroom. At some point, you have to say, you know what? I can be part of the solution. And if this is the pathway to get there, then it is what it is. And so I put my hat in the ring. I prayed about it like I do everything. And I asked God again, I said, back me up. If this is what you want me to do, back me up. And whatever happens at the end of the day, He's going to get all the glory. So sometimes you go through things not for yourself, but for other people. If all I have done is put the seed in someone's mind to say, yes, you can do this. As an immigrant, you have every right, just like any other American, to run for office, to make it a better place. That is the most patriotic thing you can do, to love a country so much. You put yourself, your family, and stuff on the line to say, I'm raising my hand because I see a way I can make this country better through my service, through blood, sweat, tears, hard work. It is just the most patriotic thing I think anyone can do as an immigrant. And so if all I've done is give people the idea to do it, if all I've done is to say you should consider this, if all I've done is to say give you the courage or the nudging or the confirmation that yes, you can run for office, I think I have done my job. However it plays out, I think I have done my job. And as long as I honor God through my work, I keep my integrity, my transparency, and my fairness, I can sleep very well at night and my
That is so powerful. Like, really, that's so, so powerful. And knowledge is still at the center of everything that I hear you say. There is a desire and then backed with knowledge, and then knowledge creates a pathway. Because there might be somebody here who is saying, well, that's Las Vegas, I need to know about Texas, I need to know about Ireland, I need to know about Nigeria, I need to know about, the UK. People are asking these questions. I have a desire to do this. Well, the starting point is to get information. You knew about Emerge because you had a desire, you found out about the program, you went through the training. Let's
Yes.
apply ourselves to knowledge at every given time. Now, belonging is something that we struggle with as immigrants. The sense of, where do I belong? Because to be able to apply yourself like you have done, there has to be a sense of belonging, either for ourselves, I belong here, or my children belong here. And that's
Right.
why I have to do what I do, because my kids belong to this country. What was your why? And how can you help someone through your words to have a healthy sense of belonging, so they are not living life in their new country in someone else's shadows?
Okay. So just real quick, I just want to mention another program that was also beneficial to me. It's called New American Leaders. They help immigrants like you and I run and win. So I actually took that program before I merged. So addressing the different aspects of your identity. And I wanted to mention that because we're talking about belonging, and I think it's tied to identity. So New American Leaders helps immigrants like you and I run and win. And I took that first because as an immigrant, you want to, and then then I went to the women's leadership program, and there are so many other programs out there. These are just the ones that I did. Please look up in your area. If you're looking for information, there's someone there who has it. I always feel like God puts us in places where we're supposed to be and brings things to you, as much as you have that desire. So about identity, I think for me, it was very rooted early on, my identity in God, right? Like, if I am the daughter of the owner of the universe, I cannot feel like an other anywhere. I belong where He's placed me. And if He's placed me there, I belong. You read the story of the children of Israel, and they leave Egypt and they go to Canaan. There were other people already there, but it was the land. He said, I am giving you this land filled with milk and honey. So I replace that and say, God said to Augusta Massey, I am giving you this America, this Las Vegas filled with milk and honey and opportunities. And so I don't know how people read their Bible, but Jesus and I, we chill and we talk. And I say, like, hey, what's up? And so if He's given me that land and my identity is rooted in Him and my daddy owns the universe, then you best believe I am walking like a princess. I am walking and I take up space because I deserve to be there. The other thing was, my parents did a really good job of letting us know whose we were in them. So I am the child of, and I know my roots. I know where I come from. I know where I'm going. At least I try to. God knows the end from the beginning. I just try and follow the connect the dots. So you play that game, you just connect the dots, and sometimes you connect the dots, it goes like this, and it comes down, and I just keep trying to follow those dots. But because I know who owns my future, I just keep moving in that direction. And so for belonging and identity, as a mom, I'm just going to also tell on myself, I don't spend so much time worrying now whether my children are going to the best schools. I don't spend so much time worrying now whether my children have the highest scores. What I try to make sure is that mentally they're stable, emotionally they're stable, and that they know that I love them unconditionally till the earth falls down. And that they have the voice and the chance to make decisions for themselves and to use their voice, even in places where people tell them that they cannot. Try to let them know that they have an identity, and their identity is rooted in a lot of the things that I do too. Not to be narcissistic or stuff, but if I am a whole person, then I can make a whole human being. If I am broken, then the humans I make will be broken. And so I spend a lot of time in reflection on myself and say, because children learn more what they see than what than they hear. And children, very, let me talk about my kids, very, very sensitive and intuitive kids. A lot of people would speak to them and be like, you guys are like, the words they use, the stuff they use, not bragging about them, but they are very, very intuitive. So if I am not whole and I do not take care of myself, I see it. They are my mirror. They show me what it is I'm dealing with. They really do. And so, besides, I don't care if they're the president of the United States, I don't care if they're the president of whatever. I try to make sure that they're happy. And that starts from within. That's not something anybody else can do. And, even, and now I'm trying to learn to be conscious of the spaces that I place them in. And what do I mean by that? Spaces that don't reflect who they are, spaces that don't reflect their skin color, places that don't reflect that. Um, if you inundate people so much and then instead of feel or internalize that they're other or they're not worthy or other people are better, I think is destructive to a child's psychology. So I don't care how great the school is, I don't care how awesome it is. I feel like for me, the psychological well being of my child, the emotional well being of my child, the well roundedness of my child is more important than any paper degree accolades and stuff. Now, will they go to school? Will they do great at school? Will they? Yes, they do. But I feel like it starts from their identity and their belonging. And hopefully that answered the question. I almost feel like
No,
I went.
yeah, it did, and you actually went on another subject that just got me really thinking that we would need a part two to talk about, the immigrant mom's role and building that healthy sense of self in her children. I think we need to be more intentional. A lot of us are more intentional than others, and making sure that we're putting the right things in front of our children to build that healthy self-esteem, because nobody can take that away from you. When you have a good sense of self, when you have good confidence, nobody can take that away from you, and that's what really brings out the good in us when we are adults and doing all these wonderful things in the world. So let me ask about the campaign, because we want to support you. Before we go too far, I know people have questions. Guys, if you have questions, please text your questions to 682 333-9444 if you have questions for Augusta. But I want you to talk a bit about, the voting day,
Okay.
what it would take to register, who are those that can vote for you, so that if there's anybody here in the Las Vegas area, they can share with their friends, and so we can make this immigrant mama a judge. Tell us
Yes.
about it.
All right. Thank you so much. Great, great question. So, I'm in Las Vegas, so if you're in the Las Vegas area, you can definitely vote for me if you are a citizen. So in our state, only citizens are can register to vote. So the good thing about our state, though, is if you are not registered, you can do it online. On the day of elections, you can register there. But why wait? Just go ahead, get it done online. It's a really easy process. I promise. You just need your driver's license and a few other things. If you're a permanent resident, you can vote, but you can support in so many other ways. You can donate, you can volunteer to help on the campaign, you can call other people. If you live outside of Las Vegas but know people in Las Vegas, please call them and tell them, hey, I saw this lady on my screen. I think she's fabulous. Check her out. My website is www.augusta, the number 4, nevada.com, and I'll put in the chat. If you're out of state and say, hey, I don't want to donate or I can't donate, how else can I help? I need people to phone bank, which means you pick up the phone and call people. I need people to help me with me sharing my social media and just, sharing it. You never know who's going to look at it. You can donate $10, $5. I've had people donate even $1 at a point, I think. And I was like, great. Every single bit helps the campaign. And so even if you're not in Vegas, you can help in several different ways. And then I always tell people, this is my tagline: stay classy, but massy, because we got to be classy, massy over here. So if all you do is just reshare my stuff and say, stay classy, but massy, I think you've helped me. And then finally, the ultimate for me is prayers. I can't do this on my own strength. I will do my best, and I'm doing my best. But every single person that votes for me, I feel like it's God is going to have to speak to them, talk to them. There are 4 other people in my race, and so there are 4 of us all together. So there's 3 other people in my race. That means I have a primary, and then the top 2 then move on to the general election later on. So I need to get out of primary. Primary is June 14th, with early voting starting May 28th to June 10th. So we don't have a lot of time. It's less than 60 days. May 28th to June 10th is early voting. So less than 60 days to go. I need a host of angels and prayers, to just really, really help me and with strength to continue to the finish line. So thank you for every single way you feel like you can help. And I will put my information for my website in the chat as well.
Yeah, I think you should please just put it now so those that are watching, I feel like hearts are stirred. People are encouraged with, your courage. People are encouraged by your story. People are encouraged by seeing you taking a step like this and saying, hey, if I can support in any way, even if I cannot vote, but I could contribute to the campaign, I'm ready to do that. I know a couple of my friends and cousins that live in Vegas, and for sure, I am going to be calling them and making sure they are registered to go and vote, because I know that this is a very powerful statement that you are making, not only for yourself, for your children, but also for us immigrant moms, for our children. It's encouraging, others to, take a stand and push for their dreams and things like that. So really just want to encourage you. So guys, it's in the comment section. Let's go ahead and
Did it
I think
show up?
no, you're putting it in the
Yeah,
private
I don't. Yeah, I
chat.
don't see the general one. Do you
So
mind just
I
doing
am
that?
going to copy it, and I'll copy it and post it there right now. But let me ask you one question. Let me ask you one question that you can answer while I'm posting. Never in a million years did I think I will.
Run for office.
Sure, I need you to say so.
Never in a million years did I think I would run for office. I mean, let's be honest, right? As an immigrant, nobody says, "Hey, I want to run." Usually, we try and stay in the shadows. Usually, we try and be quiet and good Americans, and don't say nothing, don't hear nothing, don't be just we work, we go to school, we go to church, we try and raise our kids, we pay our taxes, we pay our tithes, and we try to just help family back home, while we're trying to survive over here and just keep it going. We usually don't come out and say, hey, look at me and here's my story and all of that. So never in a million years did I think I would run. But I think it's important to shatter glass ceilings. I think it's important, especially now in 2022, to show our children you can be whatever it is you say that you want to be. And so that when we say that, we're not lying. Because, sometimes I think people say, oh, you can be whatever you want to be, but they don't really mean it. I think now we need to stop lying. It is the truth. You can be whatever it is you want to be. It's time for us to start actualizing the dream and why we came to the United States for greener pastures. Um, and it is just time that we start showing our younger ones, our children, our family members, that you shouldn't let anything stop you. You shouldn't let anybody define you. You shouldn't let anyone tell you that you can or can't do something. When President Obama came out and said, yes, we can, I was like, yeah, yes, I can be and become whomever it is that I want to become. But patience is involved. You need to be patient. Rome was not built in a day. You need to plan. I think planning is huge, especially with a family and trying to accomplish some of the things I wanted to do. I think you should make an assessment of what your abilities really are and figure out what your deficiencies are so that you can um, augment that or become better at whatever it is that you've assessed yourself as being deficient. And I think at the end of the day, you need to win your heart first before you can win anybody else's. So you need to sit down with yourself, your God, and just figure out, like, can I really do this? And what is it that I need? What are the words you're telling yourself? What is your mental chatter? What is your love language to yourself? I think you need to kind of figure that out before you put yourself out there. And so that's where patience comes in. That's where, the Bible says, study to show yourself approved. So taking those classes, getting that knowledge, getting your plans, submitting it to God, and seeing if this is where He wants you to be, and working towards that goal. So yeah, it was not something that was in my purview, but I didn't think Jonah wanted to be in the land of Nineveh. He ended up there anyway. So here I am.
Nice, nice. Alrighty. So some people have sent in questions. We have about 10 minutes to go. If you have a question, this is your chance to ask Augusta. She will be able to answer any questions that you have, hopefully. But I'm going to read out the questions that I have received, and we will stop at at the top of the hour and get as many as we can. So the first question here is, Augusta, what is a mistake you see immigrant moms making that you have been intentional not to make the same mistake?
Okay. So I think as an immigrant mom, a lot of the mistakes we make is we don't reach out and ask for help. I think we don't ask for, I think you and I were chatting about just parenting, not knowing what we don't know, and then we don't ask questions. And you told a lovely story about something that you heard, didn't know about, but then you had the courage to ask a question, and then you got the answer. And I think we don't spend enough time asking those questions. I think as immigrant parents too, we try to raise our kids the way we were raised. Unfortunately, I don't know if that works in this environment. It is definitely not the way we were raised. You could hit your kids at home, right? You could spank them. You could do all this other stuff. You don't do that here. So we need to educate ourselves on other ways for discipline, because I think children need discipline. It's just how you do it. And we need to, growing up, you didn't look your elders in the eye. You looked down. You tried to be seen but not heard. You can't raise kids that way here. I don't think you need to be able to give them that self-esteem to speak up and be able to present. So I think, I've tried to be intentional. I make my children give me presentations at home, because I feel like, and I always use the word speak up, like tell me what it is you're going, make a case. So when you hear my children speak, sometimes they're like little mini lawyers. They will argue why, they'll argue why they think. But what I'm trying to train them to do is start getting critical thinking. What I'm trying to train them to do is to start questioning things and asking themselves why. What I'm trying to get them to do is to learn how to articulate their thoughts, and being able to convince people, because I feel like one of the greatest skills anyone can have in this new world order, whatever it is, whether we're online or whether we're, remote now or in person, I think the ability to be able to think and the ability to speak are two of the greatest tools that I think children need in today's day and age. So, by my assessment, so that's what I try to teach, and I think I'm a little bit intentional about doing that with my kids.
Well, that's awesome. A lot to take from that, being intentional, teaching them to speak up and all of that. We have another question, and it says here that Augusta, I can tell you are a Christian. How are you able to instill the Christian values in your children?
So that one is a little bit harder because I have children who think, so they ask me a lot of questions. Like, my son always asks me, how do you love God when you don't see God?
How old
Or
are your kids?
so
I know
7 and 9.
seven
So
and
right now,
nine.
7 and 9, and these are questions that I've been trying to deal with since God knows. It's been a lot trying to like teach them and show them. And so I think stories are a great way, and I think that's why Jesus used a lot of parables and a lot of stories, and so trying to teach them through stories. My son will ask, like, I prayed to God for a new house. He wants this gigantic massive stuff. And it's like, mommy needs money. And so it's like, I pray to God for a new house. I don't have a new house yet, and then having to teach him about faith and what it is to believe and what it is to wait in faith. So it's an ongoing process, but I believe that my life is the greatest teacher they have. My life is the greatest Bible they will read. Myself and my husband, our lives are the greatest epistles that will testify to them about what God has done. And so, and then being intentional again about having it. So in the mornings now we do our declaration. So we talk about how's your day gonna be, and so I need you to decree. So what do you want for your day? What do you think is going to happen to you today? And what I'm doing is intentionally setting them to start declaring for their days, to decree a thing, says the Lord, right? And thank God for a new morning and a new day. And then at the end of the day, we do a review and say, so how was your day? And so now I'm getting a lot of, it was awesome, just like I thought it was gonna be. My son likes to use the word stupendous. And then my daughter said it's going to be intriguing. I'm like, okay. She's not like intriguing. And so it's just it's a walk. It's definitely a walk, and I'm doing my best every day, and my prayer is always, God, lead me, right? There's a reason you send these two to me, equip me to be able to raise them the way you want. And some days I fail, Like every other mother, I get tired and stressed out, and I yell, and then I gotta go repent for that, and I gotta apologize. This one thing I'm trying to learn to do is to apologize to my kids when I do wrong, so that they also know that it is okay to be repentant. I got a video, a meme from a friend the other day, and it was like African moms, rather than apologize, they will mop the ocean, and it was like. And he got a mop and went into the ocean rather than apologize.
Oh my God.
So I don't want to be that mom. Yeah.
Wow. That's interesting. That's another conversation for another show. Peeling off, peeling off the way we were raised and not making the mistake, of raising our children the way we were raised, or cherry picking, should I say. There's
Yeah.
some good ways, there's some good things, and
Yeah.
some other things that we have to keep aside. So the last question before we wrap up is, how do you get your husband to support you in all these moves that you're making?
Okay. So this one, um, I think he's finally gotten to the point where he just accepts now. I think he's in an acceptance phase. Like, what else are you gonna do? And I think he's at the point now where he supports because he knows God is backing us up. He's seen it time and time again in so many different ways, in so many ways. And my marriage is not perfect by any means. I know I look two, but I've been married 18 years. It'll be 18 years in March. And so we've had to walk a journey for almost 2 decades. So a lot of what I'm doing now is after being seasoned in the marriage, right? After having gone through the storms, having gone through a lot together. So like people saying stuff, we're not new to this. So the support I think comes, like I said, seeing the walk and seeing what God has done. And I use the word acceptance on purpose because I have also gotten to a place of acceptance of what he can physically, mentally, and emotionally do. I think the strife and the conflict comes when you try to make people into what they're not or support you in the way that they can't. Um, Understanding each other and knowing, what this one's strengths and weaknesses are, and then figuring out ways to complement those things, I think has been helpful. There are days where I'm like, okay, it would be great if my husband could do XYZ, but it's the husband I've had him for 18 years. Do you think he's going to change? No. So why do I spend time doing that? So if I need a little bit extra help, um, that's what the children are for now. So I'm training them so they can learn to clean up after themselves. So we adjust. They do dishes, they do chores, they start to, help out, and then it is the burden for all of us because we're all a family and we're all doing this together. And so it's not easy. And some days it is like you don't want to see the rest of my house. And then some days, again, that acceptance of there are only 24 hours in a day. What can I physically do today? What can I emotionally handle today? And then I turn the rest over to the person and the God and the entity who understands how to move all the pieces to, work out for my good.
Mhm.
And we just do our best every day to make it work.
Wow, this was really beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. I feel led to agree with you in prayer about your desires, about this position you're running for. I hear you talk about the grace of God, and I agree with you today because there is power in agreement that when two or more touch on a thing, it's established on earth as it is in heaven. So I
Yeah,
agree with you that grace will back you up and that grace will cause doors to be open for you, that
yeah,
people you do not know will give onto your campaign, that your
yeah,
name will be called in offices that you have no idea about, that God
yeah,
will pave the way and give you wisdom, exceeding wisdom, that people will come from far and wide to say, who is this woman, Augusta,
yeah,
that has a lot of wisdom from God? That through this act of service of yours, the name of God will be glorified, not
yeah,
just in Vegas, but across the country.
yeah.
Amen. In
Amen.
Jesus' name,
Amen.
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 Thank
Thank you
you
so
so
much.
You
Thank
are welcome. You are welcome. Thank you, guys. We've had a great time with Augusta. I know this is time when we tell her how much we have enjoyed her sharing her life with us. And you can leave it in the comments so she can see your comments just before we wrap up the show. I know a lot of the comments will come, so you can go to our page right after and see what everybody is saying. But Gloria here says, "Thank you. There is so really so much to learn and unlearn as an immigrant mom." Flora here says, "What an incredible mom, wife, public servant, woman of God." And she goes on to say, "Thank you for sharing with us. If you are in Vegas, we'd love to have
Do
coffee the week
it.
of the 18th."
Do it.
I know many other comments are coming through with people just, expressing their gratitude to you for, spending this time with us and sharing. And please, go over to our page and receive all that love that we have for you. I don't know if you have any final parting words.
No, I just want to say thank you so much for this platform. Thank you for answering the call of God on your life to create a space for immigrant moms to get together. And I just want to say thank you to, the huge community of immigrant moms out there. I love you guys. I appreciate your support. We are worthy. We belong. We have an identity. And don't let anyone take that from you, and just stay classy and but massy and
Yay! Well, thank you so much. I'll talk to you after the show. Let me just wrap it all up. Well, guys, this was our first edition for 2022, and it's like I never left, packed with a lot of wisdom, with a lot of power, and it really warms my heart that what I'm doing makes sense. Thank you to those that encouraged me. Auntie Mercy sent me a message, said, "When are you coming back with the Immigrant Mom Show?" Bled sent me a message, "When are you coming back?" Sometimes we do things and we don't really know that it has that much impact until we hear back from the people that surround us, that support us, that love us. So thank you to everybody that has joined us today, that has supported me for this work to go on. It's not a one-man show. It's not about Excel at all. It's about every one of us that can learn something, whose life can be better because of the immigrant mom. Guys, on to the next. I don't know when, but promise next 2 Thursdays when I'll be back. You stay blessed. And if you have a story to share, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. Every story is valid. Until next 2 Thursdays, you stay blessed and have a wonderful weekend.